For more on what INEC is doing ahead of this election in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State, we have joining us now INEC's Acting Director, Voter Education and Publicity, Mary Nkem, who will walk us through their programs and their plans. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening.
Thank you very much.
You seem quite relaxed, and I hope that's the situation back at the INEC headquarters.
In the 3 states headquarters, yes. We are relaxed because we've done our homework.
And they say that this is a litmus test for INEC 8 months after the general election. What lessons, what big lessons would you say the Commission has learned going into this election?
Thank you very much. By the time we finished the 2023 general election, the Commission went into what we call a post-election review process. And the essence of that post-election review is to weigh what we have done, to see what we have done well, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and to foster a way forward in order to get it done in a better way in the next election. And that is why we have learned our lessons. Recommendations came up from the post-election review because the Commission engaged all stakeholders, including the Road Transport Union, the security, even the officers in the state, that's our electoral officers, and a lot of people, the civil society organizations, the media, the political parties themselves participated in this exercise and came up with a lot of recommendations, which the Commission has long ago sieved, and we are putting into action to see that we have a better outing come this election that is taking place tomorrow.
It's interesting to hear that the Commission, did a critical review of the governorship and presidential elections earlier this year. But then again, oftentimes we hear from the Commission, yes, we've reviewed, we've gone through this and that, we have seen where our shortcomings were, and then they tell us they're 90% ready, 100% ready, and then getting into the day itself, we still see some challenges witnessed. Now, talk to us what INEC is doing differently this time to minimize some of the challenges on the field so that voters can have a seamless experience.
Yes, first and foremost, the Commission realizes that there is need for voters, election to commence as at when due, that is 8:30 on election day. And for that reason, previously we usually deploy to the RAC center, that's the registration area center, which is a camp, a transit camp for our officials. That center is closer to the polling units. So we camp them there so that on election day it will be easy for them to move to their polling units. Usually we move our materials to the local government areas on a Friday. But in these elections, we decided to move materials on Thursday. So all our materials have been moved to the local government area as at yesterday, Thursday. And as we speak, the RAC center, that is the registration area center, where we house our materials and men, have been activated. The materials are there, the officials are there. As we speak, refresher training is ongoing in all the centers to further, teach the people who are going to handle these beavers. Because we discovered that in the past election, so many of them were having issues with the handling of beavers. And now we have trained and retrained, and this evening we are carrying out a refresher training for them as well. And also, the Commission intends to mobilize early to the polling units. Our chairman has repeatedly said that he wants the men and material to be waiting for the voters rather than voters waiting for us. And what does that mean? It means that by tomorrow, all our materials and men should be at the polling units before 8:30, when voters are expected to come and meet them and commence the voting.
That will be unprecedented because the previous elections we've covered, it's been the other way around where voters are actually waiting for INEC officials. Well, without honesty, we've seen some improvement in some parts of the country over the years. But I want you to speak to the beavers machines that you just talked about. You have trained the ad hoc staff
very well
to understand it better.
Very well.
But we're also hearing news of blackout in one of the states, as a result of the strike. How will that work? Because in previous elections, we saw some people coming out with generators to help INEC. How much power does this machine need to work on election day?
The beavers, when it is fully charged, can work for a whole day. It will work from morning till the following morning. So, and these beavers have been fully charged before now. So we don't have issue with light. But, and also the Commission has procured generating sets, power generating sets in all of our local government areas, in all the RAC centers, that's the registration area centers, where we are camping at. In all our collation centers, we have the generating set. Remember, this is an off-cycle election. So even where there are shortfalls, we always get, support from nearby states to complement what we have in the states.
Another aspect is the matter of the result viewing portal. That
the
was
almighty
it was a subject of controversy in the last election, and we hear that INEC had changed some features with regards to that. Perhaps you talk to us about that, and also what INEC has done to ensure that there is a seamless process with the use of the IREV at the various polling units.
Okay. Now, for the IREV, in the past election, you discovered that you could see some, probably because the handlers were not properly inclined with the use of the beavers. Some of them were taking like selfies and so on, trying to see somebody will take a picture of him or herself and upload and so on. Now the Commission has put a lot of features in that beavers to the extent that there are certain things that it looks for in that form EC8A, which is the polling unit result. And if those features are not there, it will not take a snapshot. So the era of snapping one's face or the leg or the hand and uploading is gone, and probably forever.
Many of those results did not come on IREV days after the presidential election. What happened? And what is going to happen this Saturday?
Well, I am not an ICC person, but when we're told that we had glitch, and you know that technology is not, even though our elections are technologically driven somehow, but the technology doesn't conduct the election. It is human beings that handle the technology. Technology is just to facilitate. Now we had issue with the upload of a particular result during the election. And that is why the Commission, in their review, had looked at all of this. And the ICT team have also looked at critically. And that, for that reason, on the 14th of October, the Commission had what we call the mock accreditation across the 3 states, just to test the functionality of the beavers and also upload of polling unit results. We did this in the 3 states, and it will interest you that the Honorable Chairman of the Commission gave an ultimatum that those results from the mock accreditation must be uploaded into our IREV within 2 hours, of that, the close of that election. And within 2 hours, if you check the IREV, all the results from that mock accreditation are there. So we are optimistic that, God willing, this election will be different, and all the results, the polling unit results, will be scanned and uploaded in the IREV successfully for Nigerians and anyone in the comfort of their homes to view the proceedings of the polling units.
Well, this is important because this is one of the issues that have brought the image or credibility of the Commission under trial. It's if we must agree, because a lot of persons have criticized INEC with regards to that, its transparency, because of this matter of IREV. Now, let's perhaps take it further a bit. How can people, because there's also the matter of people being able to access the IREV. There are those who do not understand how they can access it to look through these results. Talk to us about how people can, access IREV.
The way people can access it is to log in to that portal. When they log in, it says self-service portal. It will now take you step by step, just like we had during our CVR. You log in, it takes you step by step, do this, you do this, click this, take you until you get in. And once you get in, you can view any results. You just choose the results you want to view. For instance, I want to view the result of IMO. I just go click on IMO. and I see the result of the polling units that I want to view.
You know, one of the resident electoral commissioners was quoted to have said that the collation will be done electronically. Does IREV have any role to play in the collation process?
Well, IREV is not an electronic collation machine.
Right.
IREV is used to upload polling unit results for people to see. You know, before the advent of IREV, we had what we call the people's result from EC60E. That result, after election, the presiding officer will enter the results as scored by each political party or their candidates in it. Then they will paste it at the polling unit for anyone to come and see. Then you realize that, you know, at times those results are pasted, somebody can just come and tear it off. Maybe another person wants to come and see, we not find it. And the commission sat down in its wisdom and decided we can actually do this thing, that apart from pasting the results at the polling unit for all to see, we can also house this result in our portal where anybody, whether you are on transit, you are at home, whatever you are doing, you can get to see the result.
So there's no point where INEC refers to IREV for collation?
No.
Interesting.
IREV, what we do, like what the law says, that when a presiding officer takes, because after uploading the results, collation, the polling unit result on the IREV, the collation officer will now take the form EC8A to the registration area collation center, that's the ward collation center, where you will now submit the results to the ward collation officer. And the law says where there is discrepancy, because before the RA collation officer or the ward collation officer will accept the result, he first of all check, were there overvoting? He will check what were the total number of accredited voters, what were the total number of votes cast. So the total number of accredited voters, the total number of votes cast should never be more than the total number of persons accredited. If that happens, that is an overvoting. So when that has been checked, then he will accept the result and enter it. But in an instance where there are discrepancies, the law says you can now make reference to what is in the BVAS, the scanned picture, yes.
Okay, so INEC is also talking tough, because one issue on the front burner for this election is the matter of security. And INEC has said that where there are cases of violence in certain polling units, it is going to perhaps cancel the result or do something, so to speak. Talk to us with regards to that.
Yes, with the issue of security, definitely when there is violence and, you know, it becomes impossible for us to conduct election, there's no way you can record the result of an election that was never conducted in a particular polling unit. So when that happens, maybe halfway into the election, there's disruption in the process, the election was not concluded, then that election will be cancelled. And we have what we call the margin of lead result management system. So when we are now we are collating our results, if you discover that when a result is being collected, if the area where results or elections were cancelled, if the total number of PVCs collected in that area are higher than the number, the margin between the two leading teams, then it means that election cannot be said to be conclusive.
Talking about PVCs collected, there's some figures are showing on the screen right now. We're looking at the registered voters in Kogi State, for instance, 1.9 million. And then look at the collected PVCs, 1.8 million. There are just 99,494 uncollected PVCs. From your experience, is that fair? Is that an improvement, you know, from what used to be? Or what do you make of these figures?
Well, I think I would say fair, because number one, you know, election in Nigeria is a matter of choice. You cannot coerce somebody to vote. So the commission, after the 2023 election, went further to announce that PVCs will be collected at these 3 states. And for about a month or 2 months, we went about, you know, issuing PVCs for those who registered and they were unable to collect their PVCs before the 2023 general election. And so they collected. But for this, a number of persons, you all agree with me that between the last registration and the time these PVCs were collected, a lot of issue may have happened. So it might be impossible for us to get 100% collection of PVC. Some people may have died, some people may be hospitalized, some may have, is it Japa or whatever? so many reasons will be accrued to why we cannot get 100%.
But is this also a reflection of voter awareness, voter education, and all of it?
Sure. Well, the Commission is doing its best when it comes to the issue of voter education. Like, take for instance, in this election, we did not look at it that, oh, we have just come out of 2023 election, so we didn't need to sensitize people. Yes. The Commission still put so much in place and even collaborated with other agencies, like the National Accreditation Agency, to carry out voter education, both at state level, at local government level. Indeed. And we had a lot of grassroots sensitization for voters. We had road shows. We have so many other activities. Jingles were produced, and a lot of ways. Even the media assisted us in carrying out voter education, our messages, radio and TV programs and so on, just to enlighten people, sensitize citizens, and to tell them who is supposed to participate in the election, what the activity was, that's the election, who is to participate, when you are to participate, how you ought to participate, and why you need to participate.
This was
in this
after
election.
the 2023 general election.
Just before now.
If you scrutinize the figures, some more, you'll find out that even though we're referred to as the biggest democracy in Africa, in 2023, less than 25%, we recorded less than 5% voter turnout. So it's like 3 out of 10 people who were registered to vote or who had their PVCs actually came out for that election. Is that a concern for INEC if less than 25% of the voting public is actually participating in the exercise?
Well, it is for us, and it should be for every Nigerian, because we spend so much money to produce the materials, because our materials are produced according to the number of the registered voters in a particular location. And after producing these materials, I discover that several percentage of them are not used. It looks like sort of like a waste, but the issue of mobilization of voters does not rest on INEC. The political parties and other agencies of government have the role of mobilizing voters to vote. What the law says is our commission can conduct voter and civic education. So we are not obliged to mobilize voters. So the political parties who are the primary beneficiaries of the outcome of this election ought to mobilize citizens to vote for them. But in that, INEC still go about to...
You don't see it as an indictment on the credibility of INEC, because some would say if they believe that their votes will count.
Yeah, that was where I was going, because that's another aspect with regards to this election, neutrality of INEC, the credibility of INEC, the transparency of INEC. These are the issues that a majority of Nigerians are raising.
INEC is transparent, INEC is neutral. I would like to state here that election is a multi-stakeholder affair. You talked of the issue of maybe late arrival of materials. As we speak, like I said, our men and material are already at the transit camp, that is the registration area center, closer to the polling unit. And by tomorrow, before 5 a.m., they will be up, getting ready. But at times, what happens when they are ready, the materials are there, the men are ready, and the vehicles to convey them are not there.
I was going to ask the question,
now,
because
the commission cannot...
the last time there was an issue of, oh, we haven't been paid, and so we cannot move. Exactly. Are we going to have that kind of situation that has been sorted?
Them. It will interest you to know that there are at times that you can even pay somebody and you may not see them. So now the commission is paying. What commission does is pay 50%. And after you have completed the exercise, you collect your balance.
So the commission was paying 100% before?
No. You pay 50%.
Okay.
And after the exercise, then you come and collect your balance. So the commission pays. But you know, we are different. The way we look at these things, we look at them differently. Some people are highly committed, while some are not.
Hopefully they don't run away this time. There were concerns about security in the previous election.
Yes.
That might also be a reason.
Another issue.
But for each state, we seem to have 10 resident electoral commissioners. Is that right?
Well, nine resident,
Yes, now 9 plus the resident.
supporting resident electoral commissioners.
You have 9 supporting strikers. Isn't that a kill? I mean, 10 people monitoring the same election. Are their roles, clearly stated? What are they doing?
That is to show you the importance the commission places in this election. It's an off-season election.
Right.
Other stakeholders will mobilize massively to the state. So INEC too is mobilizing. We have 9 resident electoral commissioners per state, excluding the main resident electoral commissioner, 9 supporting commissioners. We also have national commissioners, our honorable national commissioners, who are members of the commission deployed to this state. And the essence of doing that is just to further scrutinize this system to ensure that these things work. I'm sure these resident electoral commissioners will be distributed to the various senatorial districts,
right,
so that they'll be able to, give the push and where necessary intervene to ensure that we mobilize early to polling unit. That is what the plan of the commission. We want to mobilize early to the polling unit so that when the voters come, most times there's agitation when voters get to the polling unit and the men and materials are not there. That's where there will be issue. But when they come and meet the men and, they're able to vote peacefully and go to their homes, I don't think there will be any issue. Now,
the INEC chair was speaking with the staff of the commission, telling them that they have to ensure that they do due diligence, carry out their duties, transparently. And I'm wondering how expedient is this message to the staffers? One would expect that they should know what to do in the first place.
Well, they should know what to do, but it's always good to reiterate, emphasize on the importance to do that. The chairman has said any staff that misbehave will not be handled.
Will not be spared.
Not at all. So, and in this election, it will also interest you to know that because it's an off-season election, we are mobilizing more of our staff. For instance, in the area of the supervising presiding officers, that's those who distribute materials to the presiding officers and so on. Most of them are INEC officials, so that they can be held accountable if anything goes wrong. So INEC is serious.
How many have been held accountable before?
Well, I can't stay and count the number, but I know that some people who have erred have faced the law.
Because the narrative is that the reason why we keep having electoral malpractices is because we've not had a handful of people who have been punished when they do wrong. Recall what happened, one of those states, during the governorship election where a particular resident electoral commissioner, took upon himself to, announce results and all of that.
That was Adamawa.
So where is he now?
Fantastic question. We have to go now, but quickly, you have 10 recs to spare. So why are you finding it difficult to redeploy in cases where there have been protests in 1 minute? I'm sure you followed protests where they said recs should be replaced.
Yes,
redeployed. You see, the commission, I'm sure even in your organization, you won't be listening to rumors.
Yes,
if I come now and I carry placard and I say, you should be removed, I'm sure your organization will not just do that.
There's no smoke without a fire.
They must
Some would say there's no smoke without a fire.
So if anybody has evidence, bring their evidence.
All right.
Before us, then we do. Then I also want to say that the Honorable Chairman has categorically stated, INEC is not a political party. INEC does not have any candidates in the election. So the outcome of this election is dependent on the registered voters in that particular area. So I want to encourage every registered voter with his or her PVC to come out tomorrow and exercise their franchise. Vote for the candidate of their choice.
Right.
Acting Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC, Nkem. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.